It's game 2 tonight from Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis as the Cardinals play host to the Houston Astros. Last night, Chris Carpenter was dominant, and he has been dominant all season long here at Busch Stadium. A record of 7-3, and last night it was a 7-0 win. His ERA is under 2, well under 2, at 1.47. Now the same cannot be said for tonight's starter for the Cardinals. Another right-hander, it's Jeff Weaver. 0-3, still looking for that first Cardinal victory at home, and his ERA is near 7. He'll take on Andy Pettitte tonight. Al Brabowski, Dan McLaughlin, welcome to the broadcast booth here at Busch Stadium. Great to have you with us for Game 2 here on FSN. For whatever reason, Jeff Weaver is trying to regain that form that made him a success in the American League, but for whatever reason, he has struggled here at Busch Stadium.
I could tell you one thing, is looking at the video there, it's left-handed batters. He has really struggled against left-handers. They have pounded him for a very high average and a lot of home runs.
Let's talk a little bit, too, about the offense here at this ballpark. We were wondering at the start of this season in our Ford Key matchup, how would this ballpark play? Would it be a pitcher's park, a hitter's park? Well, it's been pretty fair.
Cardinals wanted to have a neutral ballpark, and I think the numbers reflect that.
Andy Pettitte gets the start. We were anticipating him making the Game 1 start, and he can always be tough.
Well, he's an outstanding pitcher. He has really pitched well against the Cardinals, and the Cardinals are 10 games under 500 against left-handed starters.
Astros and Cardinals, Game 2 around the corner. We're back in downtown St. Louis. It's Game 2 of a 3-game set. Weaver and Andy Pettitte on the mound for their respective clubs as the Cardinals look to make it 2 in a row. It has been an up-and-down season, no doubt, in the standings, Al, when you take a look at what the Cardinals have been able to do, but yet they find themselves in first place. And Tony La Russa has done this with a makeshift lineup, it seems like, just about every single night outside of opening day.
Well, when you look at today's lineup and compare it to opening day, it is drastically different. There are 3 players that weren't even on the roster that are in today's lineup, were not even around on opening day. A lot of injuries. You don't have the Eckstein and Edmonds in the lineup today, but it's so many changes. The Cardinals actually have 4 players on the roster right now that were released from other teams.
And yet we're still talking about a magic number in the Central Division. We've got Game 2 on FSN Midwest tonight. Joel Goldberg will break it down when we come back.
Welcome back to the broadcast booth at Busch Stadium. I'm Joel Goldberg. Still a few very good races going on in Major League Baseball. Cardinals with a decent lead in the NL Central, but that is not the case in the National League West. The Dodgers and Padres going at it. 1.5 games separating them. That thing is going to go down to the wire. Giants still have a chance. D-backs and Rockies have fallen out of that race. And the wild card, no fear, kids, the Cardinals are looking good. They're taking on the Astros. Dan and Al are next.
Victory here at Busch Stadium allowed the Cardinals to put 6 games between themselves and last season's National League champions. And the Redbirds have 6 games remaining with Bill Garner's club. They are tied for 6th in the league's wild card chase. So that was a big loss for them last night. We'll take a look at his lineup. Taveras in the leadoff spot instead of Biggio. Then Lamb and Berkman. Huff, Scott, Burke, Bruntlett, Ausmus, and Pettitte on the mound tonight here in Game 2. Lance Berkman, last 5 games, it's been a struggle at times. Jeff Weaver, his numbers brought to you by Advance Auto Parts, a record of 3-4, and he's still looking for that elusive victory, his first here at home.
Well, his last couple starts have been pretty good ones. He won 1 and he lost 1, but he has pitched well, particularly last season when he posted a 1-0 victory against Roger Clemens at Dodger Stadium. So we'll see what Weaver shows up today.
No activity for the pen last night. Complete game by Carpenter, so they're fresh and ready to roll, minus Jason Isringhausen. So Willie Taveras will lead it off, and there's last night's winning pitcher picking up win number 14, and that is Chris Carpenter. I was saying on the pregame show, Al, in my mind, it's his to lose when you talk about the Cy Young Award. I mean, he's going to get a handful of starts down the stretch. He's got the best ERA. He's unhittable here at home, and the Cardinals play the majority of their games at this ballpark.
Well, I think it's if you're Brandon Webb, you know, he thinks he's got a chance, and his manager's touting him. The Dodgers have Penny. Well, it's yet to be determined, but he's got a good shot.
Got to be quick with Taveras, and Miles is up to the task. And that's the first out. That's how we start the game. Around the Horn is brought to you by Auto Tire. Defense behind Weaver tonight. Jeff 5 career starts against Houston, 2 and 3 his record. Spezio, Encarnacion, and Wilson in the outfield. Roland, Miles, Belliard, and Pujols along the infield. And Yadier Molina is behind the plate. So Preston Wilson, the only change in this lineup. And he's playing right field. And that's the only change from last night. But we talk about the changes from opening day, or it seems like on a nightly basis. It's unbelievable what this team has had to go through with some of the injuries and some of the call-ups that have made an impression, like a Duncan. That's going to make it 1-0 Houston. Mike Lamb crushes one out to right.
Left-handed batters. They have been the nemesis for Weaver. They were batting .385 with 11 of his 12 home runs that he's allowed here in St. Louis. And that is the 31st home run he's allowed overall this season.
The biggest problem with Weaver against these lefties, Al, is the fact that he cannot get in enough. And that one right down the middle.
I got one simple solution. Why try to pitch in? If you can't get in there, why leave it middle half or in the middle of the plate?
And with one swing of the bat, it's 1-0 Houston. So they pick up finally a run. They've been searching for runs since Saturday night when this man hit one off the scoreboard at Miller Park. We're talking about Lance Berkman. You see what lefties have done. 12 home runs and a .385 average against Weaver. To score the streak coming into the game tonight that had reached 20 innings after that 7-0 loss to the Cardinals here in Game 1. Lance Berkman had a 500-foot home run at Miller Park on Saturday night, and that was the last run that they had picked up. Here comes a 2-1 pitch from Weaver to Berkman. 2-2. Lance was 0 for 4 last night. One home run shy of 40 here in 2006. 3 for 14 against Weaver in his career.
If you could keep Berkman down, you've got a chance to beat the Astros.
And the reason you say that is because this is not a potent lineup whatsoever.
They are really struggled to score runs. And Berkman is a legitimate hitter there, but not a lot of protection around him.
Here comes a 3-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, and he struck him out. Back to the home run we go. It was an 87-mile-an-hour pitch right down the middle.
It looks like he's probably going to be a cutter, or he's trying to throw the sinker. And it was supposed to be inside, and that's right down the middle of the plate to a left-handed batter. Mike Lamb knew that he had that one, and Weaver probably did too.
And here is Aubrey Huff, picked up from Tampa Bay. And he has seen plenty of Weaver from their days in the American League, and he's hit him pretty well. 8 for 22. 3 doubles against the Cardinals right-hander. Strike on the outside corner. Our home plate umpire tonight is Tim Cheetah. Ted Barrett at first, Laz Diaz at second, and Rick Reed, the crew chief, is over at third. A 1-2 pitch by Weaver. Popped up, backing up the shortstop, Aaron Miles, and he'll take it. Only mistake in the first, the home run to Mike Lamb, his 12th. And Houston has their first lead of this series. Andy Pettitte gets the start tonight for the Astros, and with 408 feet, a solo shot. And it's 1-0 Houston in the bottom of the first. Scott Rowland this season against the Astros, couple of home runs, although he's been struggling as of late overall. Wilson is in the leadoff spot, then Spezio and Pujols. Roland, Encarnacion, Belliard, Miles, Molina, and Weaver facing Andy Pettitte. And on the bench tonight for the Cardinals, the switch hitting Vizcaino, Duncan always potent off the bench, then Bennett, Rose, Rodriguez, Schumacher, Nelson, and so Taguchi. 500 record for Andy Pettitte. And as of late, he's been pitching well. He's 4-2 combined in the months of August and September. His number is presented by Rico. Here's Preston Wilson with a lefty on the mound. Preston gets the start, and the first pitch is popped up. The catch will be made by the second baseman.
Andy Pettitte, 33 years of age, his 13th Major League season, and his third with the Astros. He's always had one of the better and excellent second half type pitchers. He has a 701 winning percentage in the second half.
Auto Tire defense behind Andy Pettit. See his career starts and his records. Scott Tavares and Huff in the outfield. Lamb, Bruntlett, Burke, and Berkman along the infield. Brad Ausmus, multiple Gold Glove Award winner, is behind the plate. Here's a switch hitting Spezio playing left field tonight. Double last night, also walked, popped it up, 2 pitches, 2 outs. Now, Tony La Russa talked about it during the pregame show. He was asked about facing left-handed pitching, and the Cardinals are 10 games below 500 against lefties after being nearly, 30 games above 500 the last couple of years. They said a guy like Pettit is in a separate class as opposed to some of the other lefties we have faced, where we have just not had good approaches whatsoever. And he can't like the start tonight, 2 pitches, 2 outs.
Well, he's right. Pettit is, just throw away the fact he's left or right. He's just an outstanding pitcher. Big game type pitcher, a lot of postseason experience. And he will attack the strike zone and usually give his team a chance to win. They just don't score a lot of runs.
Andy Pettit, 3-1 in 7 career regular season starts against the Cardinals. ERA of 2.70. And the Cardinals have seen him in postseason play, and time called again.
A year ago, he led Major League Baseball with a 1.69 ERA in the second half.
1 ball, 1 strike on Albert. Hope you enjoyed our little pregame segment on Mr. Pujols. See him, in my own words, the program Thursday night at 10. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Ominous skies overhead. Cool temperature, 64 degrees. Gray and dark, and there is rain in the forecast tonight. We said that last night and it stayed away.
Yes, we did.
1-2 pitch to Albert. He struck him out, so the Cardinals go down 1-2-3. After 1, the Astros lead it by a run.
What is this year's most memorable moment? It's who's raising the bar by singular. A, opening day at Busch. B, Gary Bennett's grand slam. C, Albert's Easter's 3-home run day. And Dan was just playing Superman as he was doing the camera. He's all-purpose up here. We always said you could do it all. And
nice help, Al. Nice help.
Well, in case you don't know.
You had to carry the broadcast, I know.
Well, no, but union regulations, I'm a union man.
So then you should have been up over there.
You just got fired.
Oh, all right. Well, good. Then I can sit here. And I'll make you go with your bad back and neck.
No. I mean, I respect union people.
You all right, big dog?
You can't touch union equipment.
Out to left center field. That's trouble. And it drops in for a hit and all the way to the wall. And on his way to second base, it's Luke Scott. The guys in the truck were all over me. Between innings, they said, why don't you get up and help? And sure enough, I had my eyes just, in the notes, and I wasn't paying attention to what was going on, Al, but I helped out, and you just sat there.
Yes, I did. Totally missed locations. Set up away. Ball in the middle of the plate. Sliced out into right center. Look at Aaron Miles, your shortstop out here. He's looking back to see where the runner is. Now he's telling that he is the initial cutoff man. Albert trailing the play. There's some place for everyone to go, no matter where the ball's hit on the diamond.
Here's a second baseman tonight, Chris Burke. Show and bunt. He'll try and advance that runner from second to third. That's Luke Scott. Burke is hitting .283, naturally an infielder, but with Craig Biggio there for so many years with Houston, Burke has had to learn the outfield. And that's where he played last night. I did see the singular wireless question. Do you have a favorite moment?
Oh, man. So many. I mean, I would get caught up with just one. I just take in the whole season.
So if I had to pin you down.
Had to pin me down? Well, I mean, we expect Albert to hit 3 home runs in a game. I think when you talk about Bennett, I almost want to carry that whole weekend and that whole little stretch when Molina was hurt. Bennett, you know, won games. Saturday we had the home run and then the game-winning hit in the ninth. And then on Sunday he hit the grand slam.
We had the Reyes one-hitter.
The Reyes one-hitter.
Tomey,
you know, that doesn't, you know, get strong consideration to me because we lost.
Right.
And other was real big on my radar screen.
We had opening day too.
Opening day, you know, it's always special here.
And a swing and a miss.
Anytime. But
not a very good at bat there by Chris Burke, and it brings in Bruntlett. Late insertion into this lineup because Everett is having a problem with his leg. So Bruntlett will dig in. What about some of the games that Carpenter has thrown?
Well, that's why I said others.
Yeah.
Was real big on my radar screen, including last night. His 4th complete game, 3rd shutout of the season.
His ERA right now is 1.47 at home. Chris Carpenter's 2005 Cy Young Award season won't be forgotten. And on September 17th, the Cardinals play the Giants at 1:15. Coca-Cola and Schnucks have teamed up with the Cardinals to bring the first 25,000 fans with a paid admission, a figurine to commemorate that season. For tickets, call the Cardinals at 345-9000. So Carpenter's ERA at home 1.47. And we started the telecast last night showing you a graphic of the guys that since 1993 have had the lowest ERAs at home, and the best was 97. Well, at that time he was pitching with Toronto. That's Roger Clemens at 1.52. So Carpenter has surpassed that, and at least at this point it's the best since 93.
And that also leads the major leagues.
Matt Morris was also on that list at 1.62. He did that back in 2001. He won 22 games.
I think Matty's scheduled to pitch on Saturday here against the Cardinals.
One and two the count.
Don't have any pitchers listed yet in the notes for the San Francisco series, but I read that in the Sporting News.
Matt had some good years in St. Louis.
Won over 100 games.
Count of 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Weaver, a lot of times it takes him an inning or two before he gets his movement on his pitches.
Would surprise you that in his last 7 starts, Jeff Weaver has an ERA of 3.64?
Yes, it would. The last 2 have been good.
And I remember you saying you just got to believe in what he can do with Dave Duncan and have some patience. And that's what he's done, ERA by inning as a Cardinal. Maybe that's why he didn't go back out for the 6th inning, not to get to the 7th in his last start. Encarnacion on center field. Runner will tag up from second base to third. And with 2 outs, it brings in Ausmus. So Luke Scott taking advantage of Encarnacion on center, plenty deep to tag up.
Yeah, I think he recognized that it's not anywhere near going out of the ballpark. So once he sees that center fielder has tracked it, he goes right to the bag and advances 90 feet. Also, you know, fielder going to his Encarnacion going to his left and have to throw across his body. You know, he's not going to have an exceptional throw.
This is the number 8 man in the lineup, and you got Pettit on deck. Nothing too good here for Ausmus.
Batting .211 against right-handed pitching this year, .228 overall. On 0 for his last 6, and on the road trip, 188.
Got off to a great start this season. Was leading all catchers and hitting, and then he went on a terrible streak. Something like 0 for 41 or 42.
I think we were in Houston at the end of that one. 2-time Gold Glove winner. Leads all National League catchers this season with his 111th start.
3-0. Not the worst thing to walk him here with the pitcher on deck.
No, and a lot of times you attempt to see if he'll get himself out, but you're very aware of the pitcher on deck.
Don Colombado's 72nd birthday is tonight, and he's working in the left field bleachers. And he's worked with the Cardinals for the last 16 years, so happy birthday to Don. Count of 3 balls and a strike.
14-year veteran. He's caught more games than any other Astro catcher.
We will have afternoon baseball tomorrow on FSN. Marquee against Roy Oswald. Just outside, and that's ball 4. Weaver, his first walk. This state in baseball history, Carl Yastrzemski hit number 3,000 back in 1979. And also, I looked it up. 1974, a guy named Raboski went 4 innings and got a save and was 2 for 2 against the Mets.
Yeah, you know what? And I got those 2 hits off of Tug McGraw. Remember, that was after I pitched 3 innings. 3 innings in the 25-inning game, and then the next night I pitched 4.
And I thought what was interesting about it, for young fans, they wouldn't believe it. A 4-inning save. You never see that anymore.
Well, you know what happened was Tug stayed in, Last stayed in because, you know, nobody else could throw. We came to the ballpark expecting to pitch every day.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. Almost hit him.
And the following game, we bussed from New York to Philadelphia. We're in 17th inning. Top of the 17th inning, we scored 5 runs, and before they could get us out, we could get the Phillies out, we had a 2.5-hour rain delay. And they came back and rallied, and I was warming up.
Here's a chopper hit to short. Force play at second. Steps on the bag. Coming up for the Cardinals, rolling. Encarnacion and Belliard. The all-star third baseman leads it off. Houston a lead of 1-0 over the Cardinals. It's a chilly night here at the ballpark. 64 degrees our game time temperature. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the St. Louis Cardinals, LLC, and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of the game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals, LLC. We were talking during the break about the games that you were involved in. So you had a string of 4 games where the club got back to the hotel at 5 in the morning.
Exactly. It started with the final game of a homestand here on our way to New York, but Lou Brock broke the stolen base record, and by the time, you know, they had a 20-minute ceremony during the game. By the time they did all the press conferences, and we were stayed at the airport for a couple hours until they brought Lou to us, and then we got to New York at 5 a.m. We had the 25-inning game, got to 5 a.m. Then we had the second busing from New York to Philadelphia. Stopped and double parked on 3rd Avenue as we went into a little tavern, got some sandwiches because we didn't have enough food in the clubhouse. That time we got there, we got in at 5 a.m. We had most of the luggage from the guys on the first bus, including Red and all the coaches. And then we had the 17-inning game with the 2.5-hour rain delay. So we were the best team after midnight.
Yeah, I'm sure you were, obviously. So the Brock celebration lasted a couple of hours, at least as far as getting you guys out of St. Louis.
Well, they had a 20-minute ceremony. He did anything about the 7th inning, but he's entertained the media for a couple hours himself.
Boy, Pettit looked odd at trying to go after that. Remember, he is nursing that sore ankle, and also he was almost hit by a pitch from Weaver in the last inning, and he hit the deck. Let's take a look at Andy Pettit here.
Oh, it's his landing leg, so you see it's that right leg, and it got the weight off it, but it went to push off, and you're absolutely right. Just very unorthodox. He stepped on a ball. It jams Scott Rowland, and see, went to push off on that right leg, and it just didn't want to support his weight. But he stepped on a ball during batting practice and rolled his ankle a little bit.
When McGuire hit 62 in that nationally televised game, a night game, and that night the Cardinals had to go to Cincinnati. I remember turning on the news the next day, and every national outlet seemed to have a one-on-one interview with McGuire. So I'm thinking club didn't leave for a long time out of St. Louis.
Well, and I'm not too sure. We knew he wasn't going to play the next day, so I'm not sure if he went with the team that night. Can't remember that part.
Cardinal fans, the pennant race heating up here in September. Stay on top of all the action with mobile alerts from STLCardinals.com. In-game scores, league changes, injury updates, club and league news. It's simple using your mobile phone. Text the keyword Cardinals to 65246 or visit STLCardinals.com to sign up today.
Not sure if David Pratt flew him on his plane to Cincinnati or they just chartered one for the next day.
Here is Belliard in another ground ball and another easy inning for Andy Pettit. Cardinals go 1-2-3, a low throw over there to first. Picked out of the dirt by Berkman. Third inning coming up, top of the order for Houston. Herzog here tonight.
Well, you know, he's got his big golf tournament coming up, and it starts with the dinner out at Forest Hills Country Club on Sunday, and that'll be the day one of his honorees, the 3 Hall of Famers, George Brett, Ozzie Smith, and Bruce Sutter, but that will be the day that Sutter's number is formally retired. And also, Yogi Berra will be at that banquet, St. Louis. Joe Garagiola told me to say that. His brother Mickey's been telling it. He said, well, how come Al never says that Yogi's going to be?
Now he did. Bob Forsch is going to be at the ceremony.
Sure. He and Bruce are very close friends, and of course Bob now a resident of Florida.
Shallow right, and Preston Wilson makes the catch. And we want to make sure and pass along our condolences to the family of Usher supervisor Bob Witt. Passed away last week, and Bob worked at all 3 stadiums and was in his 50th year of service with the Cardinals, and he will be sorely missed by his fellow employees and all the fans that he has taken care of over the years. A real class act, and we're going to miss him.
Forget about all the ushers and usherettes that have been around here. As you said, all 3 stadiums make the experience such a good one for the fans.
Lamb homered his first time up. Difference in this game so far. We're only in the 3rd, though, and it's 1-0.
See if they pitch him a little differently. Now they're concentrating away. This is about the time that you start seeing a lot more movement from Weaver's pitches.
That's a good piece of hitting by Lamb past Scott Rowland, well off the line at third base. A homer and now a double.
Sometimes you just have to give a hitter credit.
Let's go back to his first at bat, and this was the home run that he yanked out of here, 408 feet. Now this time he'll go the other way. Real good piece of hitting here.
Yeah, off-speed pitch. Look at the movement going down. He just tries to make contact, and Scott Rowland was off the third base line, stuck between he and the bag, and he's out there in scoring position with 1 out.
Lance Berkman struck out his first time up. Weaver has struck out 2. He's walked 1, and he's allowed 3 hits. Astros have stranded 2 so far.
Weaver has thrown 43 pitches and Pettit 13.
What's interesting, and maybe the Cardinals will try to do this, and we saw him with Spezio, second batter in the game against Pettit. Why not try to bunt against him with that sore ankle? Try anything to get something going.
Now they got all the advanced scouting. They got all these different things. That's all we used to want to know. As a pitcher, did a hitter have a bad hand? Could you take advantage of an injury? Or in the case of a guy that turned his ankle, maybe he's not as mobile, and especially you saw them, try to field his position on that ball that was hit to second base. It makes too much sense not to try.
2 balls, 1 strike on Lance Berkman. Lamb is the runner at second base. Big game between Cincinnati and San Diego, and the Reds lead at 3-2 midway through that game. LA has jumped out to a 6-0 lead on the Cubs early on in that game, and the Marlins are winning again 2-0. That's over the Mets. You and I were talking before the game. I mean, when you take a look at potential wild card teams, I mean, the Marlins scare you as much as anybody.
And I think it's key that they won big against the Mets last night. They're leading 2-0 over the New Yorkers tonight, but there is rain has delayed that game.
Good pitch on the hands of Berkman.
And I go back to last season. The Cardinals were absolutely dominating against Houston, but after they seemed like they had it wrapped up, a lot like where the Mets are, all of a sudden Houston came in and swept a series, and everybody said, oh, it's no big deal. But that convinced Houston that if they met in postseason, they could beat the Cardinals. And that's what happened.
In my mind, it may not be the worst thing to see the Cardinals in a pennant race down to the final week of the regular season. Last 2 years, they've had that baby wrapped up just about right now and could coast into the final 2 to 3 weeks of the regular season. And, you can lose your edge a little bit. Swing and a miss, and the second time that Berkman is struck out. But you just look at the wild card teams, they go in hot and they ride that all the way to a World Series.
3 of the last 4 years, the wild card team won the World Championship.
Well, if you're ready to make the calls yourself as an amateur or professional umpire, for the first time this November, Major League Baseball is offering 2 sessions of umpiring camps in Compton, California, where you can learn from Major League umpires. For more information, go to a website, mlbuc.com.
That's something new. There's still some of the umpiring schools that are managed and owned by existing umpires. There are a few retired ones, but this is the first one. First time you have a camp like this on the West Coast.
1-0 pitch to Huff is line foul.
Is that Aaron out there? That might have been the weakest effort we've ever seen from Aaron.
Well, last night he had one right between his legs.
Aaron?
Aaron. 2 nights in a row.
Oh, look at him shaking his head. He knows those guys are up there talking about him.
Al, he should be shaking his head. You're better than that, Aaron. You are better than that. Now, instead of hearing from the players tomorrow and something we said, we'll get yelled at by Aaron. So we'll just switch it up.
He's wearing glasses. That's why he missed him.
I've never seen him wear those glasses.
That's what I mean. That's throwing off his depth perception.
Aaron usually gets the ball and then sternly points at a youngster. He's got one in mind, and they're going to get the ball.
It's now Weaver making sure when he misses an inside off the plate to these left-handers.
Here's a 2-2 pitch. Line to right to roll and positioned perfectly. Pitches around the double. It's 1-0 Houston. On the options that we gave you in our singular wireless question, this is April 10th, opening day. Always a tradition. The Hall of Famers are here. The Clydesdales as well. Mark Mulder would make that start and go deep. And Albert Pujols almost put one completely out of the stadium. And at that time, we were trying to figure out what kind of stadium is this going to be. And I saw that and I thought, holy smokes, we got a hitter's park. And then we heard about what was happening in the workout that they had prior to playing that first game here at Busch, and apparently Pujols put a couple over the bullpen and beyond the seats and near the area where Ballpark Village will go in, and he almost put it out of the stadium. 1-2 the count on Miles. Cardinals 6 up, 6 down, and it's been easy work thus far for Pettit. A lot of strikes tonight.
16 pitches, 13 strikes.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Here comes a 1-2 pitch to Miles, former Astro. Andy Pettit, August and September of this year. Personally 4-2 in the games that he has started. The team is 5-3. And opponents only hitting .226. Big game pitcher, you bet. All those years with New York, all those years in the World Series. Was able to coax Roger Clemens into coming to Houston. And just like the Cardinals in their rotation, you got to wonder about the way that Houston will line up next season. They've got a lot of question marks as well.
Good at bat by Miles right there.
One of those question marks is Andy Pettit. Does he want to continue? You see the pitch count only at 20 for Andy and 55 already for Weaver in his 3 innings of work. Will Roger Clemens come back? And you have to wonder, with the race as tight as it is in the wild card and in the Central Division, where would Houston be if Roger Clemens was there on opening day? And they're not expecting Brandon Backey back. He had elbow surgery, and it looks like he's going to miss the entire season next year.
Because he had the Tommy John surgery, which is usually 12 to 18 months. Some people believe that if Roger would have been there from the beginning, he would be experiencing what he's doing right now, the groin problem or leg injuries. I think part of the plan was, and his hope was, by really missing the first several months, he would be fresh down the stretch and be an impact player, which obviously he is every time he takes the mound. The earliest he could be back is probably this weekend.
Sean, it cost him in the World Series last year, too.
Sure.
2 balls and a strike on Molina. Jeff Weaver on deck. Houston with a home run from Mike Lamb back in the first. 408 feet. The second batter of this game, and it's 1-0 Astros. Off the glove of Pettit, and they still have a play with Molina running. 1-6-3.
Pettit got a glove on it, just enough to slow it up. Looked like it was hit hard enough it would have gone through the infield, and Bruntlett able to recover and make the play.
And it brings in the pitcher, Jeff Weaver.
Weaver will get the first Cardinal hit today.
What happened to all those predictions that never came true that you said from Tom Mee? And now you're just throwing out these predictions?
Well, Tom Mee informed me yesterday that he did predict one over the weekend when we were not working. He predicted a Pujols home run.
Shocked he didn't call us. Tom really going out on a limb when you predict that Pujols home run.
Big gap out in the left center.
If you checked lately, Allie's got 45.
Well, you'd have 297 this season if Tom was correct.
New record. Pujols closing in on 300.
Jack Buck one time said if you make enough predictions, a couple of them are bound to come through.
Eventually, you'll land a couple. If he can get one. I mean, there's all kinds of room in left center field, and they're very shallow in the outfield.
Weaver, not a bad hitting pitcher over the years. Made his Cardinal debut as a pinch hitter. Did that before he ever got to the mound.
And here comes a 1-2 pitch. Inside, 2-2. Pettit has dealt with elbow problems in his career. He left New York. They offered him a bundle of money. The Yankees offered him around $40 million. Boston stepped up with around $55, but he wanted to come home. Spend time with his family. He's wearing that Astros uniform. And Weaver strikes out. That's strikeout number 2 for Andy Pettit. Sports Ultimate Nightly Highlight Show is here. It's the FSN Final Score. Every great highlight, every unforgettable moment, every night on FSN. It's the only national show that gives you nothing but wall-to-wall highlights. The FSN Final Score tonight at 11:30 on FSN Midwest.
Osmus might be out there talking to Pettit and said, look, we know Preston Wilson is a guy that's not going to work the count. And if you make a pitch fairly close, you have a likelihood he'll swing at the first pitch. So don't groove one.
Preston swung at the first pitch, first time up, and popped out to the second baseman. Phil Gardner over the weekend changed all his signs in anticipation of this matchup with the Cardinals because Preston knew them all. And Preston was in the starting lineup last night until Pettit was pulled and Duncan was put in there, and it's a move that paid off for Tony La Russa.
Preston has 10 RBIs and 5 home runs in his 19 games with St. Louis. So he's batted .333 in the leadoff spot.
And a 1-0 pitch from Pettit. And Preston Wilson unloads out to deep left field against his former team, and the Cardinals are on top. Wilson goes deep. And they said he was lacking power in Houston. Not tonight against his former team, and against Andy Pettit, it's 2-1.
Preston is 8 for 23 in the leadoff spot with now 4 home runs and 7 RBIs. So 6 home runs, 12 RBIs in his 20 games with St. Louis. And he's kind of taking a liking to the leadoff spot, and he gives the Cardinals the lead. Pettit has surrendered 25 home runs this year.
Well, they said that they were not happy with the production, in particular the RBIs, and he was second on the team in that department and in home runs. And Preston Wilson was putting up decent numbers early in the season that tailed off. And we're just not seeing that here in St. Louis. He has been a good find for the Cardinals and a perfect fit. And what's interesting is what you talked about, the meeting with Osmus and Pettit prior to the at-bat. They saw him 200-300 at-bats wearing that Astros uniform. They figure they know how to approach him, to attack him. Makes a mistake, and it's 2-1 Cardinals.
Also have first base open in case you fell behind in the count. Having him expand his zone.
A change-up and a swing and a miss by Spezia, 1-1.
Kind of jumped at that ball because it was up in the zone. Preston now 15 home runs, 6 of them with St. Louis.
Here's a 1-1 pitch. One hopper, Brutman across the diamond, not in time. Shortstop position last night with 2 errors. That was Everett, and Brutman. Looks like they're going to give him an error on that play, and they should. Let's see if they do. They did.
It is his 7th error, and really this is a team that's only committed 69 errors on the season, And now they're out to check on Pettit. So that might have been part of it too, where Ausmus might have detected something.
Well, he's been out there, you know, at least 3 times, Ausmus. And you just don't normally see that with a guy like Andy Pettit on the mound. Like you said, 10+ years in the major leagues, you know what you're getting.
His hand. It looks like a blister or something, and he's out of this game.
That's going to be it for Pettit. Knocked out here in the bottom of the 3rd with Pujols coming up and a runner at first. It's 2-1. Bill Gardner has to go to his bullpen after the injury to Andy Pettit. We turn to the Aflac trivia question tonight.
Aflac!
How many years separated Stan the Man's first and last batting titles? The Aflac trivia question tonight. The Hall of Famer, Stan the Man. We've got a new pitcher in this game. And it's our call to the bullpen, brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers.
Chris Sampson will come into this ball game. He's 1-0, ERA at 3.31 in 5 games, 1 start for the Astros. He was 12-3 with a 2.58 ERA in 27 games at AAA Round Rock, including 19 starts. Earned his first major league win and his only start on June the 7th versus the Cubs. And one of 3 pitchers in the major leagues this year to earn his first major league win as a starting pitcher in a 1-0 game. And he will take all the time he needs because he's come in here due to injury.
It's 2-1. Back to one of the games you can vote for. That's Bronson Arroyo against Albert Pujols Easter Sunday. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I talked to David Weathers about that pitch at Albert's golf tournament. He thought it was a pretty good one. Most people did. Pitch that was inside, and Pujols was able to yank it and keep it fair back on April 16th. And that was the 3-home-run day for Albert Pujols. He's done that a couple of times this season. Back to the Aflac trivia question as Sampson continues to throw and warm up on the mound. How many years separated Stan Musial's first and last batting championships? And he had 7 of those. A .331 career average. 14. 43 was the first, 57 the last. I remember in 1945 he did not play because military service. Some believe the greatest Cardinal of them all, Stan the Man. You had a chance to visit with Dick Zitzman the other day, who handles a lot of business affairs for Stan.
Yeah, and Dick and Stan have been together for a long time. Stan the Man Inc., where you can get all that great Musial memorabilia. 314-965-3000, just in case anybody's interested. You and I have, we probably can't even count. We'd have to take off our shoes and socks to count how much Musial memorabilia we have.
Yeah, Stan the Man Inc., 965-3000, and all the pictures and baseballs. And
we talked about, you know, the one with President Kennedy.
My favorite.
Your favorite at the All-Star game in RFK Stadium. And just so many different pieces. You know, I mentioned Yogi Berra. He's got an autographed piece of Yogi and Stan.
I have that too. Like you said,
you got the 40. You got the 42 outfield. Slaughter,
no.
Terry Moore,
nope.
and Musial. Oh, I got several of those.
I have Terry Moore and Stan the Man. I got Slaughter and
one with
piece.
Baseballs. I got one with a kind of a Amity cartoonish one of it, or caricature, and I got the real photograph, all signed by all 3.
Well, this is the last thing that Sampson thought he'd be doing, pitching in the 3rd inning and then having to come in, warm up, 40,000 plus watching him warm up, a lonely feeling out there, and then you got to face Albert Pujols. Curveball, a nice one.
And Dan, that's a pretty accurate description. Lonely feeling. You feel like everybody's saying, come on, you know, let's go. And you usually will tell the umpire that you're ready about 1 or 2 batters too soon.
Pujols struck out a couple of times in game one and struck out his first time tonight. He has been battling a bad elbow. And of course, earlier this season, battling the oblique. That put him on the DL. They'll try to go inside and watch out. Hit to the shortstop. Force play at second. And the Cardinals are through here in the third. A two-run homer by Wilson puts him on top for the first time tonight. Cardinals a lead of 2-1. Preston Wilson with a home run against his former team. Luke Scott, Burke, and Bruntlett for the Astros. Off of Weaver, and he's got time to make it close, and beating it out, Scott with a base hit. And where did that catch Weaver? And here comes both Tony La Russa and Barry Weinberg.
Looked like I went through his legs.
Well, it caught something. His thigh, maybe his hand, I couldn't tell.
Follow through and right through the legs. And enough said. Appears to be okay.
So it's a base hit for Scott. He's 2 for 2. They'll allow Weaver to take a couple of tosses, make sure he's all right. So both pitchers having their problems tonight, as Pettit has already been knocked out of the game. Not sure on what's problem. What the problem is with Andy Pettit. We'll see what happens here with Weaver. Seems to be all right. Yeah.
Yep.
So leadoff base hit. And it brings in Burke, who struck out his first time up. Yankees have jumped out to a 12-0 lead. That's in the top of the 6th. They send 13 to the plate, the bottom of the first, and take a 9-0 lead, and now lead at 12-0. And Bobby Abreu already with 7 RBIs in just 6 innings of play.
It's Tampa Bay, and I'm sure George saying he came up to take full responsibility for that inning.
The ownership in Tampa Bay has said that unless they can make a significant signing in the offseason, they will trim their payroll even more and have it under $30 million next season. They feel they can drop 8 off of what they have currently, and it knocks it down to $28 million.
Hey, kind of go, you know, we could finish last with this payroll, or we could finish last with a new one.
Right. So that's what they're doing.
And then we'll get $28 million in luxury tax.
And I think it's, you know, a logical question. The Players Association is asked, and they say, look, you know, you want to have a cap and all that, that's fine, a luxury tax, but we need to know that the money is being put back into the organizations and not into owners' pockets.
Well, but they can also say that it's going to the minor league system and keep on getting #1 draft picks that are expensive to sign.
Three balls, no strikes. You know, the Royals this last offseason, they were concerned that there might be a lawsuit. And that's why they went out and signed Mark Grudzielanek and Reggie Sanders. Scott Ellerton was part of that too.
What was the lawsuit? Impersonating the major league team?
They feel,
how about this?
They feel that they've got a couple of guys that they can build around, but they've been saying that year after year.
Well, and I told you that I was recently told, saw their AA team and said that they had 5 of their 8 position players were legitimate major league prospects at the AA level.
They've already re-signed Grudzielanek for another year.
And you know what? Right now, Chicago's going to lose this game, or they're losing 7-0 with the 4th inning. Chicago is only 3 games better than Kansas City.
Right. The other team that has played well, that was supposed to play well at the beginning of the season and didn't do it, is Cleveland. Down the right field line and out of play. First 2 have reached here in the 4th with a single and a walk to Burke, and now Bruntlett fly to center his first time up. Let's see how Weaver responds after the first 2 have reached, and then after the first one reached on the comebacker that hit him off the leg or the arm. He's already thrown 63 pitches. No balls, 2 strikes. Bruntlett is in there for Adam Everett. Late scratch from the lineup. San Diego back on top of Cincinnati. It's 4-3 in the top of the 7th. Drops down. Weaver does that a bunch.
A lot of time he'll do that with 2 strikes, trying to get the punch out.
Piazza with a solo home run. He's had a bounce back year for San Diego. He's had a good season. 1-2 the count on Bruntlett. Weaver needs a double play. Off his glove. Miles couldn't get out of his. And everybody's safe. It's a base hit and the bases are loaded here in the top of the 4th for Houston. Weaver a couple of times in this inning has almost come up with 2 dandies.
Well, he spins around. His follow through carries him around there. Last time he got hit, and this time he tried to backhand it. Still thought Miles was going to be able to get at least the force out at second, but couldn't get it out of his glove.
A chance for Weaver to still get out of this inning, though. You got Ausmus, a guy that has been struggling. He walked his first time. Then you got the pitcher spot 2 up. The Cardinals, Dave Duncan doesn't like something that he sees. Now with the bases loaded and nobody out.
Well, I think you've got to get somebody up.
Make sure that it doesn't get out of control.
Yeah, just like the Astros will pinch hit here behind Ausmus. You got in September, you got all these call-ups. You might as well use them.
Ausmus has grounded into 21 double plays this season. That's most this Houston lineup.
They have Sampson at the on-deck circle, but they have a pitcher warming up just in case. So it depends on what Ausmus does. If he can tie the game or give him a lead, they'll let Sampson continue. But there's Tyler Johnson.
Bases loaded, 1 ball, 1 strike. Cardinals lead it 2-1 here in the 4th. Weaver in his last start was frustrated over the fact that he was taken out after 5 innings. That last start against Arizona was a win. Trying to even up his record at 4-4 here in St. Louis. One-two pitch, drops down again, popped up. Infield fly, and Pujols will take it. That's a key out, number 1.
Now they will pinch hit for Sampson. It looks like Palmeiro.
Sampson a third of an inning, but he did get a key out, Albert Pujols, to ground out to short. And this brings in Palmeiro, the former Cardinal. Spent 1 year in St. Louis. And then headed to Houston after some productive years with the Angels.
And in Milwaukee over the weekend, he got his career pinch hit number 100. Second most by active players. Art Sweeney and Palmeiro and Sweeney were teammates in the Angels organization. Palmeiro is second to Sweeney and pinch hits and also doubles at the big league level.
5 for 19 against Jeff Weaver in his career. 15 pinch hits this season. And that's 5 shy of the Houston record. set by Ken Boswell back in 1976. And Palmeiro, you can read his lips. He's saying that's bad. Didn't like the call one bit. Oh, 1 pitch. If you're wondering, Palmeiro's only hit into 2 double plays. All kinds of room into right center. Up the middle, this game is at least tied. Palmeiro has tied it up with a single. Encarnacion's throw to the plate, not in time, and Houston back on top. It's 3-2. Orlando Palmeiro off the bench. RBI base hit makes it 3-2 Houston.
Very productive is the breaking ball and sends it right back up the middle. Encarnacion charges, has a throw, but Molina can't block the plate. He didn't have the throw, didn't have the ball early enough to where he could kind of stick that left leg out there. And they take the 3-2 lead.
And that's 3 hits in the inning, all 3 up the middle. Runners at first and second. Here's Taveras. Tough to double up him. Some of the best speed in the game of baseball. And when you think about guys that could have long hitting streaks, you think about speedsters, and Willie Taveras put a long one together this year. 30-game hitting streak in which he had 349, and it just wrapped up before the month of September, August 27. Good pitch on the outside corner. No balls, 2 strikes.
Andy Pettit, that left elbow string, flexor muscle there. You were just talking about how already a couple times this season, and that elbow has plagued him in the past for many years.
Just hope he's all right. 0-2 pitch. 1-2. Taveras tonight has grounded out to short. He's flied to right. In the midst of his second consecutive 30 stolen base season. First since Craig Biggio to do it. The Cardinals pick up 2, and Weaver hands him right back.
Fairness to Jeff, I think that ball that hit him in the upper thigh area.
Ground ball, tough to turn 2. Belliard quickly turns the double play. 6-4-3 on the double play. Belliard a great turn at second.
And how he's pitched other times.
Call to the bullpen brought to you by your Mid-America Chevrolet dealers. Dave Barkowski in. This will be his 35th appearance. We saw him last night. Under 500 in his record this season. Out of the pen for Houston. First pitch to Scott Rowland is taken low and away. Rowland grounded out to second first time up.
Old-fashioned guy. Barkowski pitched 2 innings last night. He usually pitches multiple innings.
And Rowland hits it out to center for the first out. Preston Wilson has a 2-run homer for the Cardinals to account for their runs. And that is his 6th home run since joining the Cardinals on August 18. Not bad at all. And prior to tonight, Preston had been struggling, hitting under 200, but the same can be said for Scott Rowland. That was not an easy road trip for the Cardinals. Almost no hit by Ortiz, and then the 1-hitter by Brandon Webb.
Scott Rowland doubled the only hit in that game, but Cardinals haven't fared well on the road for quite a while. Foul ball. Pitch up and in.
No balls, 2 strikes.
Barkowski has pitched as many as 6 innings in relief this year. His debut with the Astros on April 25th with 4 scoreless innings.
A liner hit down the right field line. That could be trouble. It's a fair ball. Encarnacion digging for 2. Is he thinking 3? Why not? On his way to third. The throw not in time. Head first slide and a triple for Encarnacion. Little hesitation going around second. Then he said, why not? He represents the tying run.
The ball gets down here into the corner and then kind of caroms around. Huff played it perfectly. Might have had a little bobble with the exchange. Watch him get up here, get the ball up against the wall, and looked like he got it cleanly, but then he had to re-grip it. And Osmus didn't like that pitch down and away. He's got the infield in.
Big night for Ronnie Belliard last night with 4 RBIs, breaking out of a little slump. The biggest hit in the game with the bases loaded. He cleared him with a triple off the wall, his first triple since last season. Infield is in for Belliard. Here comes a 1-0. You go back to the double play. I mean, rarely will you see Taveras hit into a double play. Has to be a hard hit ball, and it was, but the turn was fantastic by Belliard. 2-0 pitch. Grounds it left side. Encarnacion can't advance. It's going to take a 2-out hit now by Miles. Potentially past Miles here. His second walk. And they will pitch to Molina. I'm going to make a guess now. You ready for my prediction?
Yes, sir.
Molina picks up an RBI base hit.
I hope you are correct. Maynard had extra hitting early today.
The 2006 Post-Dispatch St. Louis Cardinals pin collection is now available as a complete set for only $74.99. Log on to www.cardinalspincollection.com or call 877-758-5245 and place your order today.
Molina has 44 RBIs.
He's going to deliver right here, Al. If you guys are going to start guessing, I'm guessing. And at some point, one of us is going to get it right.
Well, I didn't get it right, and Tom, me.
So it's the do factor.
Didn't. And I hope you are right. Got the infield playing back.
Here comes an 0-1 pitch. Molina, little bleeder out to center, and it drops. This game is tied. And Miles winds up at third.
And nice going, partner. And a pretty happy Molina as he's watching the replay. Wasn't hit particularly well, but just well enough to fall in between. And Miles, that good base running, goes on to third base. So Miles, 2 outs, he just takes off and give it a hustle. Throw is to the infield side. Just goes out there and gets his 45th RBI. So one thing he's been doing is, for the hits that he has, he's driven in quite a few.
And here's Jeff Weaver. Chance to help himself with runners at the corners. 2 outs here in the 4th. 3-3 game. I knew you were right along with me on that prediction. Weren't you, Al?
Yes, I was.
Here's a grounder hit to second. Slowly hit. And Weaver is out at first. The Cardinals will strand 2, but they tied back up thanks to Molina. It's 3-3. And right here had a birthday, Al, and we were discussing as to whether or not he was at school, and I stand corrected. He was at school. He's on television right now. Mr. Buchanan right here. He was at school that day, and I thought he was being homeschooled and maybe would hear the announcement.
He's a very smart young man. He goes to school.
I stand corrected. Making a brief appearance, Cindy Buchanan. Mom. 3-3. Here in the 5th. You want me to predict anything else? Good luck tonight.
I just want who's going to win the game?
Cardinals.
Okay, I'm right along with that one. Who's going to be the winning pitcher?
Haven't figured that out yet.
Come on, let's make it Weaver. The bullpen will take holds and saves.
One and 2 on Lamb. It's got to come to me, Al. I just got a feeling. Defensive swing, but he stays alive. And Lamb has got a couple of hits tonight. He's got a homer. He's got a double.
He's feeling it. Weaver's feeling it.
Encarnacion scoring the 3rd run of this ball game for the Cardinals. That was his 5th triple of the season, his first since May 27th at San Diego. This number may shock you. Chris Muskoff, who works with us up here in the booth, comes up with this gem. Molina this season with runners in scoring position and 2 outs is hitting .388. Now that is surprising.
Now that is, well, I said he's got a very high total RBIs for his amount of hits.
Wide throw to Pujols, and the leadoff man retired. Yadier, after that little blue pit, is now 19 for 49 in that situation with 20 RBIs. For a guy that's hitting .220, he's got 44 driven in this year. And it brings in Lance Berkman, who is 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts.
Numbers are terrific, Berkman's, but even better when you consider the fact that not a lot of offensive support surrounding him.
Berkman's father, Larry, once played for the University of Texas and turned Lance into a switch hitter. A grounder that is hit to Pujols, so the easiest inning thus far for Weaver.
0 for 7 is Berkman in the series.
And I say the easiest because if you go back to the first 4, he has not gone 1-2 in any of those.
No.
Puff has lined out and popped out. 2000, Aubrey Huff was the Devil Rays minor league player of the year, and his name has been brought up a couple of times with the Cardinals last year and again this year. Houston sent Mitch Talbot, a pitcher, and a shortstop to the Devil Rays to get Huff. He's a free agent to be. Weaver thought he had strike 3.
Has 16 home runs overall, 8 of them with the Astros. He's hit .322 in his last 71 games.
Pops it up on the infield. Belliard and Pujols. It's going to be Ronnie. First 1-2-3 inning for Weaver of the night. He's through 5. We're tied up 3-3. A home run to Jim Thome. And one of the best starts of the season for the Cardinals, but they came up short 1-0 the final in that game.
Now wait a minute, that's terrible. You give a one hit complete game and you show why he lost it.
Well, it still was one of the best games of the year.
Yes, it was.
We get word tonight that Mark Mulder underwent successful surgery on his left shoulder. That was earlier today. As Preston Wilson pops it up. It was performed by the Mets team physician. And Dr. George Paletta of the Cardinals was there as well. They'll begin physical therapy and rehab in 1 to 2 weeks. And his prognosis for recovery is excellent, but no definite timetable for his return has been established. So there you go. Here's Scott Spezio. 1 out, nobody on. We're in the 5th of a 3-3 game. Spezio has reached on an error and popped out. He tried to bunt his way on against Andy Pettit his first time up.
I think this winter I'm going to sit in on it.
Spezio lines it down the right field line. That's a fair ball. Into the corner it goes.
Ground rule.
It popped over the wall or what. It's out of our line of sight. It must have. Or maybe touched by a fan, but either way it's a ground rule double.
No, I think it bounced into the stands for the ground rule double. Just inside the line and then hooking into the stands. I think I'm going to sit in on a shoulder and maybe even a Tommy John surgery this offseason.
You're serious?
Yes, I've been invited.
I'm going to ask you a question here of a guy that has spoken to Tommy John, a guy that, you know, you take a look at his career, very good playing career, pitching career, and his surgery, you know, one of the most popular in the sports. It's extended so many careers from pitchers to position players. Should Tommy John be in the Hall of Fame?
Well, Tommy John has about 280 plus wins. So he's right there borderline. And, you know, if the circumstances were so unusual, I mean, back in an era where just the beginning of multi-year contracts, and I'm assuming that he was the first year of a 2-year contract, because it was unheard of to allow a pitcher a year plus to recover. And he had signed with the Dodgers. And, you know, it was experimental surgery. That's why it got his name. But they really didn't have the instruments that they do now. It was kind of a, you know, taking a tendon from, you know, your other arm or sometimes an extremity and rethreading the ulnar nerve. You know, it just was unheard of. You know, Biff Pocorobo was the first position player to have a rotator cuff. Steve Busby was the first pitcher to have a rotator. And back then they would lay you open from armpit to armpit. And, you know, just almost impossible to saw through those big muscles in the shoulder and repair the damage to the cuff. Where now it's, you know, Jim Andrews, Dr. Andrews was the first to do the arthroscopic. And just, but now they have the techniques, the utensils, the things to make these things such a successful operation. And I think some clubs right now would prefer to have a player that already has the Tommy John, because it comes back at each absolutely stronger.
Octavio Dotel, the former Astro, he was pitching on the West Coast as Springer is getting loose in the Astros bullpen. And he signed with the Yankees. Cardinals had an interest in him in the offseason, and they told him, look, you don't necessarily have to have the surgery. He said, I want the surgery. I'm having pain, and I think this would be the best thing for my career. And Roland can't believe that call, as strike 2 is on the outside corner, that one on the inside corner. Roland having to say here with Tim Cheetah, now he's out of here. And you don't see that very often from Scott Rolen.
No, you don't, and you don't see this reaction either. And there's a man that doesn't get hot often.
Could be that Scott Rolen is 5 for his last 31 here in September, so some frustration mounting in that regard too. But the fact is, he got the pitch on the outside corner, and then he went back inside and got that. Tony gets his explanation. He's already been ejected for throwing or questioning balls and strikes a couple of games ago.
Well, I think it's what you're saying is we see the last pitch running in on him, but you usually can't have both sides of the plate. The hitter has to have the ability to have one of those sides.
That's as animated as we've seen Rolen maybe ever. Encarnacion with 2 outs picks up a base hit. They're going to wave him in. Here comes a throw from left field. It is not in time. Cardinals back on top. It's another 2-out RBI for Juan Encarnacion.
And just a horrible throw from Luke Scott. Oquendo's going to send everyone, but that throw was so poor that Encarnacion never stopped around first and got himself in scoring position. Bouncing through here, and watch the throw come in from the left fielder. Charging, he's not that deep, and a 32 hopper to the plate.
So Juan is 2 for 3 with a single with 2 outs and an RBI, and he also tripled and scored back in the 4th.
He got a big 2-out hit in last night's game after Belliard got it.
And in Arizona a couple of times too, as Belliard pops out. He's 0 for 3 and his struggles continue. Juan has really picked it up though. It's 4-3. Pitch feature, and here it is on Scott Rolen now.
Well, you see the pitch outside, call strike 1. Now another one out there. He kind of questions whether those are strikes. It's 0-2. They keep on working away, so they try to go out there again. And then now the one on the inside part of the plate. And, if you're going to call one side, there has to be one side for a hitter. As now, Spezio is playing third base, and Chris Duncan out in left field after the ejection of Scott Rolen.
Here's Luke Scott. Last night he was 1 for 3, and Scott tonight has a couple of hits with a double and a single and a run scored. In this game already, we've seen Andy Pettit leave with elbow stiffness, soreness. And the Cardinal starter is still in there. That's Weaver. Being bounced around in the first 4 innings. His best inning was his last. Back in the 5th, 1-2-3. And the Cardinals lead it 4-3. It's been back and forth in this game.
96 pitches, so
figure this is going to be it.
Last.
Yeah, he's due up third. The Cardinals have been reluctant to go very deep with him into games anyway.
I think part of that is you're trying to heal the psyche, and you want to make sure he feels good about some of these performances. So if he can have a successful 6th inning, the bullpen do their job, give him another win, then he knows he's stringing together some good games. But as a pitcher, what you don't want to see happen is because of a player getting ejected, arguing balls and strikes, to have it carry over and have it change the strike zone for you when you take the mound.
Well, last time that the Cardinals grabbed a lead, it was 2-1, and then Weaver, the following inning, handed back the 2 runs. Cardinals in would tie it up, and now they lead it 4-3.
And the worst thing you can do is that leadoff walk.
Leadoff walk, runner at first. If you're Houston, I mean, this is such a big game for them. Every game from here on out, but they would fall to 7 games out in the Central.
Well, I mean, the thing is the Cardinals win this game, they win the series. That's their goal. They might be able to steal a game tomorrow against one of the best in Oswald, but yeah, their backs are up against the wall. They kind of, Carpenter was brilliant last night. Then you've got Pettit going, who's pitching very well, so you feel like you're going to at least even the series.
I think what is going to be in the Cardinals' favor, as Weaver didn't like that, is that Marquis is going on short days rest too.
Well, sometimes that could work to his benefit.
That's what I mean.
And hopefully that's the case. But here's what I'm saying, and Weaver kind of walking around as Tim Cheetah had 1 strike zone for Scott Rowland, and now Weaver can't get anything close to what pitches that were called strikes on Scott. Josh Hancock going to the Cardinals.
It's way outside, so Hancock getting loose in a hurry. Weaver upset with himself as he falls behind 3-0 on Burke.
And this is where Molina needs to come out right now and just calm his emotions down. You get mad, you get extra adrenaline, but it's useless. Regroup, come all the way back from a 3-0 deficit.
And a 3-0 pitch. Strike. Sarcastic cheer from the crowd here at Busch Stadium. From the Cardinals side of things, after watching that at bat with Rowland, you're just asking for the strike zone to be consistent.
Right.
Uh-oh, that's problems. That's a home run, and that's a lead back in Houston's favor.
Up in Big Mac land.
Goodness gracious. Burke with number 9, and it's 5-4 Houston. Another lead change in this game, and it's back to the Astros.
3-1 lead. He's just looking for a fastball that he can drive, and he drove it.
Here comes Tony, and that's going to be it. Up into Big Mac land. Not many have reached there this year. Uglos is the longest home run we've seen at the new Busch Stadium, the Florida second baseman. He hit one about 10 or 15 rows deep in Big Mac land. So in the 6th, Weaver is done. After the Cardinals gave him a lead, he couldn't hold it. It's 5-4 Houston. The Redbirds bullpen now. It's Hancock trotting in. Ryan McCann working in the truck gives you a little flavor of the game tonight. There's Josh Hancock, a record of 3-2, 3.80 ERA. Used in all different types of situations for the Cardinals this year. Cardinals trail 5-4 as the Astros knock out the Redbirds starter Jeff Weaver. And it's the shortstop Eric Bruntlett. San Diego and Cincinnati now, Al, in the 9th, tied up at 4-4 as the Reds tied it up in the bottom of the 8th. That's a big game there.
Cubbies are coming back on LA. 7-5 now. Chicago batting in the 6th inning.
Last time we saw Josh Hancock was Sunday at Arizona, 3rd of an inning. No hits, no runs.
Got one save on the year that came against the Astros. Been used in a multitude of different ways, including a career high 4 1/3 innings of no-hit relief on July the 1st at Kansas City.
Eric Bruntlett is fly to center, and he has singled 1 for 2. And he chases a breaking ball. Good start for Hancock. Final line on Jeff Weaver. 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, and he walked 3.
2 home runs.
Mixed in 3 strikeouts. It's disappointing, though, because the Cardinals handed him a lead a couple of times. He couldn't hold it.
Yeah, the home run ball still affecting him. He's given up 32 on the season. 14 as a pitching for the Cardinals.
A couple years ago, you looked at the Diamondbacks, and with Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling, they rode those two to a World Series. And I think you've got to wonder how deep the Cardinals can go with this rotation. They know they've got a horse in Carpenter. Second half, Suppan has been very, very good, but after that, you just don't know. And even maybe of greater importance is the instability of who's going to close the game out. I mean, Tony La Russa has talked about it time and again. You have to have a good closer to win in postseason play.
You know what you also have to have?
A little luck.
You better have 1 or 2 guys that bridge the gap from your starter to your closer. And Izzy, he will not do anything until Friday. They had the cortisone shot on Monday. And on Friday, they'll have a bullpen session to kind of see how he performs from that point.
You look at what Isringhausen was able to do this year on that bad hip. 10 blown saves, but he picked up 33 saves on the year. Barry Weinberg was saying before the game he has both arthritis and an impingement in the left hip. And it looks like more surgery on the horizon.
I remember Dr. Paletta telling me that after he performed surgery, I think it was after 04.
04. Ball, 3rd strike.
And Dr. Paletta was shocked that he was so successful that season in 04 because of how bad it was. And this is a different strike zone for Hancock than it was for Weaver at the end.
Thursday at 10, tune in for In My Own Words with Albert Pujols. 30-minute show, and the All-Star will talk about which Hall of Famer has helped him the most during his journey through the big leagues. In My Own Words, Albert Pujols, Thursday at 10, only on FSM Midwest.
It's like Charlton Jimerson.
Good start here for Hancock. We saw Jimerson pitch hit in the game last night. Pair of strikeouts for Hancock. But back to Isringhausen. You know, Tony La Russa said when a starting pitcher is out, you're pretty much able to just plug another one in. He said it's a totally different aspect when you're talking about losing your closer and trying to figure out the guy that has the stuff, the mentality, a guy that can bounce back night after night in those 9th inning situations.
Well, you know, if you look at it, Looper has done it in the past, so you have that comforting feeling. Well, what does it say that about Wainwright and his physical ability that in many cases I think Tony would go to Wainwright first? That's a real plus.
Charlton Jimerson. A concern for both those guys, Wainwright and Looper, has been getting left-handers out, but Dave Duncan indicated that if it came down to a decision between either one, they'd probably go with Wainwright in that spot. They might save a lefty late for some of those situations too. Foul territory, and that's going to find the seats.
Jimerson hit a 440-foot home run in his first major league plate appearance on September the 4th at Philadelphia against Hamels, the lefty.
wound up being a dramatic home run for Houston. If they make it into postseason play, they can look back at that game as being a game in which they probably shouldn't have won, but they were able to come back, and Jimerson supplied a blow to get him back in the game.
Third player this year. A homer in his first plate appearance, including Wainwright.
He did that at San Francisco against the Giants.
And went on to get the win in that game. His first win of the season.
It's been a great first year, I think, for Wainwright.
Absolutely.
1-2 pitch from Hancock. He comes in and strikes out the side. Good work by the Cardinal right-hander. Miles, Molina, and then Hancock's spot is due up for the Cardinals. They trail now 5-4. And let's turn to tonight's hot pitches of the game, brought to you by Hardee's. Josh Hancock in relief of Weaver, you saw there. First man that he faced, Brundtland, struck him out. And then it was Ausmus, caught looking on the inside corner. And then a breaking ball here to Jimerson, the pinch hitter, and he strikes out the side. His spot is due up third in this inning. So good work by Josh Hancock.
I think he showed him talking with Weaver about the difference in the strike zone. Is another pitcher employed by Phil Garner and the Astros. It'll be the former Cardinal, Russ Springer. 65th appearance for him. 1-1 record. Served a little 4-game suspension for hitting Barry Bonds this year.
And Springer pitched with the Cardinals back in '03. Fastball and a strike to Aaron Miles. You know, Russ Springer's put together a pretty decent career, 10+ years in the major leagues.
Yes, he has.
That's doing something. Came up with the Yankees in 1992. Was with Anaheim, the Phillies. This is his second stint in Houston. He was with them in '97. It was Arizona, Atlanta, the Cardinals, and then back with Houston. Signed a minor league contract and then wound up putting together some pretty good numbers in '04. Pitched with Houston in '97, then was selected by Arizona in the expansion draft. Third pick in the third round. Little bloop out to shallow center, and it's picked up by Brundtland. First time that Miles has been off the bases tonight. Russ Springer in college pitched 3 seasons for LSU. Had a win in the 1989 College World Series. He still holds many of the pitching records at LSU, one of the top baseball schools in America.
Boy, they sure give Molina the left center field gap and all the left field line.
Yadier had a base hit to tie it up at 4.
I really don't think he can hit it down the line or out in the left center.
Two balls, no strikes.
Probably pitching him away. Last night he just kind of tried to check his swing 2 or 3 times, made contact, did get a RBI single on a bloop hit over the second baseman's head.
Popped up. Ausmus near the screen, and it's about 2 or 3 rows back. Springer coined the phrase "one heartbeat," referring to the bullpen as a cohesive unit a year ago, and their bullpen was very good with Lidge at the end. And it's been well documented his problems this year, and really stemming from the Pujols home run, the championship series. But their bullpen a season ago was Springer and Qualls and Wheeler and Lidge, one of the best in baseball. Here comes a 2-1 pitch. Backing up Taveras for out number 2.
Schumacher is being called back, and it looks like Mike Rose is going to pinch hit.
Rose, the pinch hitter for Hancock.
You know, he never really showed any power, and he did have 17 at bats between Oakland and LA in the big leagues, but didn't show much power either in minor leagues or in those 17 games of the big leagues until this year. And a lot of it was late in the season at Memphis.
He's batting .262 at the time of his call up here to the major leagues. 15 home runs and 36 RBIs for the AAA affiliate of the Cardinals. He had 7 home runs in 27 games in August, so that helped the old call up swinging a hot bat. Began the season in the Tampa organization at Durham, their AAA affiliate. Released on May 25th and then picked up by the Cardinals.
And he had a clause in his contract where he could escape if he didn't make their big league team. Chose to exercise that, and I think he made the wise decision coming to Cardinals, and he's trying to be in a pennant race in September.
All he has to do is look at Chris Coast, the catcher for the Phillies, and think, you know what, there's hope. Coast, a guy that spent something like 3 or 4 years in the independent league. He's now the everyday catcher for the Phillies, hitting over 300. He's come out of nowhere. He spent close to 10 years in the minor leagues.
Yeah. We saw him, and
he was great.
Hit well, yeah. Cardinal pitching staff might have jump-started him up to the #1 catcher.
Here comes a 1-2 pitch. Outside, 2-2. Cardinals have left 5 on tonight. They've got 5 hits and trail 5-4.
Detroit beat Texas 3-2, and Minnesota is trailing Oakland 5-3 in the 7th. That's a big game.
Apparently Liriano is going to pitch on Wednesday for Minnesota.
Right.
They get in, they might be the team to beat. Santana and Liriano. Strikeout, and that ends the 6th. Houston leads it 5-4. 7th inning coming up. Tavares, Lamb, and Berkman.
To our final flashback, Gary Bennett on August 27th, 9th inning, bases loaded, his first career grand slam. It's a game winner. He got the game winner the day before, and he had quite a week. So our singular, that was our final flashback. Tyler Johnson will come into this ball game. Appearing for the 48th appearance of the season. He's got 12 holes, and of late's been pitching very effectively. He's kind of cut down his walks a little bit, still striking out near a man an inning. And his last time out on Sunday, he pitched a full inning, 1 strikeout, retired 3 straight, and stranded 2 runners.
Willie Tavares will lead it off for Houston. 5-4 Astros. Top of the order. Tavares hit into a double play. Back in the 4th, he is fly to right and also grounded out to short. Trying to bunt his way on against Tyler Johnson. He'll spin and throw. And throws it away. You could see that one coming from a mile away. And Willie is in safely at second base. A base hit and then an error on Tyler Johnson. At times you'll see Johnson now get a little bit excited out there, and you get to see this coming as he had to rush the throw, and it's nowhere close.
Yeah, he just, you know, sometimes you put that bunt down and just put it in your pocket. Albert did the right thing, wasn't going to get in the way of that ball. It was thrown right in the dirt, and with that great running speed, sometimes you just got to say, okay, concede the bunt, don't complicate it by throwing it away. And now he's made the work a little tougher. They'll get another right-hander up.
Boy, he can fly. Back-to-back 30 stolen bases seasons.
Miles trying to deke him to force him to slide, and a late slide there. He almost injures himself.
And here is Mike Lamb. Slowly hit. That's as good as a bunt. The tag by Johnson. He sells it. Whether or not he tagged it, I'm not so sure, but he sold it, and that's the first out.
The Astros don't argue. Fields it, and boy, I guess he did re-grip it, had a little more of a grip on it than first thought, but.
They turn around Berkman, and that usually means good things when he hits from this side of the plate. On either side, he's dangerous, but less dangerous from this side. Lance Berkman has put up great numbers from the left side of the plate, nearly 100 RBIs.
Yes.
And on the season, Lance with 120.
Got Josh Kinney warming up. He is really, since coming back up, become one of Tony's favorites to go to. But you have the switch hitter, Berkman, and then you have Huff, the left-handed hitter. Scott, a left-handed hitter. So, in some ways, almost surprised, and they may see what they do here, but in some ways, almost surprised they don't just walk. Anytime you can turn him around, though, you want him batting from the right-hand side.
Infield is drawn in. The first pitch, a strike. Mention how Lance Berkman's father once played for the University of Texas. Turned Lance into a switch hitter, and the way that he learned to switch hit, he built arm strength without lifting weights as he would swing at a tire in their backyard, both left-handed and right-handed. And that's how he became a switch hitter growing up. His dad for a while worked as his agent. They nixed that deal as Lance Berkman went to Rice and then signed with Houston, one of the top draft picks from a few years ago. Was one of the top college players that was not heavily recruited coming out of high school and then all of a sudden developed big time in college.
Rice University.
Molina way outside.
Yeah, that's. It's a spot out there. Remember, Berkman is. I mean, the numbers are drastically different, but back in early 2000s when Jeff Tabaka came in and turned him around, he hit a home run at Busch Stadium, batting from the right side, which was almost unheard of at that time. But
Tabaka, don't remind me.
Had a few. Juan Augusto.
For a famous postseason play with Mr. Tabaka. Swing and a miss, and he struck him out. And Tyler is an out away from getting out of the inning. Boy, good pitch.
No, and the third strikeout for Berkman. And I mean, if somebody is sitting here watching this and watching his strikeout, you go, well, that's not a very good hitter. He is one of the most exceptional hitters in the league in all of baseball. But Tyler, you know, he's got that good breaking ball for the left-handers, but he has made huge progress pitching to right-handers lately.
And Tony has been using him more against those righties.
Well, I think because he's throwing strikes, he's got command of those pitches, but he's found something to where he's kind of an equalizer a little bit. And there used to be at times where you always wondered if Molina could catch his off-speed pitches. Now he's more consistent with it and become a real weapon.
Go back to the Washington series. Remember Felipe Lopez? You knew he was going to be turned around. He struck him out on three pitches.
Struck him out on 3 pitches, and you know, he's got something going to where right-handers really look bad on his breaking ball.
Out to left, going back, and making the catch is Duncan. Let's see if the momentum can carry over offensively as Tyler Johnson pitches out of a jam of his own doing with the air. Duncan the catch out and left. And it's 5-4. Ada Lewis is tonight's merchandise winner in the Hyundai Long Drive Inning Sweepstakes. If the Cardinals hit a home run, Carlotta qualifies for the Hyundai Sonata drawing in September. To register, visit a St. Louis area Hyundai dealer. So top of the order for the Cardinals.
How about this juggler?
Speechless.
see if that momentum, Big Mo, that Tyler Johnson shutting him down after he put himself in a jam with the base hit, bunt base hit, and an error throwing the ball away.
Dale Lopino put that juggler on the air. Real good stuff there, Dale. Preston Wilson, a swing and a miss. It's no balls and 2 strikes. Apparently the truck is just voted other as one of the great moments this season was that highlight.
Chad Qualls pitching to Wilson here, appearing for the 70th time. Of course, 147 times since the beginning of the 05 season. See both sides guarding the lines. Really opens up the field.
Popped up by Preston Wilson out to center field. Tavares there, and he'll make the catch for the first out. Stop by any gate on Sunday, September 17th, and donate equipment that will benefit the Cardinals RBI program. Compliments of BHL. There'll be volunteers on hand. They'll collect the items at those gates starting at 11 through the 3rd inning. They'll provide great equipment for the RBI program. Donate this Sunday, September 17th, right here at Busch. Here's Spezio. He's sitting on 12 home runs. Out to center. Not deep enough. And it brings in Pujols. Now Chad Qualls was the Rookie of the Year for the Astros in 2004, but he still qualified as a rookie in 05. And he ranked 2nd among rookies in appearances with 77. He trailed only Gary Majeski by 1. And Gary was pitching with Washington at the time, and he's now with Cincinnati. He's had very good numbers. Season ago, 6-4 in those 77 games.
04, he appeared in 25 games, maintaining his status. Had 1 save and 4-0 record.
That pitch at 96 miles an hour, Pujols didn't like the call.
And Qualls credits teammate Russ Springer as a primary influence in helping him make the transition from starter to reliever.
41,453 tonight. Another sellout here at Busch Stadium. Here comes a 1-1 pitch to Albert.
I got the reason why these 41,000, these lesser numbers are sellouts is because Cardinals give away about 150,000 tickets to different charitable organizations. And because the stadium wasn't completed at the beginning of the year, they pushed most of those giveaways to the second half and games during the week. So that's where sometimes you'll see maybe one that got 46,000 or something like that as a sellout. Then you hear a 41,000 sellout because they gave away so many free tickets.
2-2 the count on Albert Pujols with 2 outs, nobody on. The Cardinals down by a run. Way outside, Duncan waiting on deck. Role reversal tonight as Duncan did not start the game, and he is hitting behind Pujols. Normally it's the other way around.
And Trevor Miller, their lone lefty in the bullpen, warming up in case Duncan comes up. They want to make a change.
And that spot in the lineup, it's occupied now by Duncan, normally occupied by Scott Rowland. He was ejected by home plate umpire Tim Cheetah. Struck out back in the 5th. Here's a 3-2 in the dirt. I think any time now that Chris Duncan, who is turning into a fan favorite, comes to the plate, then you get a little excited because he possesses that power, and with one swing he could put the Cardinals back on top after hitting .361 9 home runs and a .747 slugging percentage in August. His numbers have lagged a little bit here in September. 5 for 34, 1 home run and 2 RBIs.
He doesn't sneak up on anybody anymore. You know, everyone's aware that he has good power and that he's maintained that 300 average.
Boy, are they deep out there.
I mean, look at the guy. You know, your third baseman playing on the line, then they're playing deep. Albert may be able to score and balls hit in front of these outfielders.
0-1, and he took a rip. No balls, 2 strikes. You would figure that Duncan is not going to see a fastball for at least 2, maybe 3 pitches if it goes that far in this at bat. The crushing fastballs. Pickoff, and Pujols back safely. Picked off over the weekend. I'm assuming you agree with my assessment.
On the fastball, there's a sinker.
0-2 pitch.
I was going to say, you know, sometimes you're ahead like that, you can throw the fastball, but just you don't want to throw it in the strike zone. They have a lot of power arms.
The last time we saw Houston, Brad Lidge was struggling. Matter of fact, he coughed up a lead and a game to the Cardinals right before the All-Star break, but they believe he is straightened out. So you get your cracks here in the 7th and 8th, you better take advantage.
Slider.
Duncan just got a piece. That's all right. Still in there.
Sure.
We've talked about the outfield arms. Average, if not below average, and they are very deep. Pujols will be running around there like a madman.
Slider again.
1-2 on its way. Duncan strikes out. That ends the 7th. We head to the 8th, and it's 5-4 Houston. They sing in the wireless what is this season's most memorable moment. The votes are in, and we take a look. Gary Bennett's grand slam. That was my vote. As you mentioned, Al, it was quite a weekend for Gary and quite a run. Young man on the left, Brian Mee, son of Tommy, our director. He's a basketball player at Missouri.
Excuse me, wearing an Astros uniform?
It's all right. He's a basketball player at Missouri Baptist. I'm sure he paid for those tickets, Al. And
oh, yeah.
Wear what you want when you come to the ballpark. Cheer for your favorite team. Luke Scott hits the deck, and matter of fact, that baseball just hit him, it looks like.
Couldn't really tell by saying, well, now wait a minute. Tony's going to come out and argue when the batter doesn't even go to first base.
Let's see if Tony can't ask Cheetah to ask one of the umpires that maybe had a better look. Hey, Luke Scott didn't even react.
You know, wait, you know, he'll say now that, oh yeah, it hit me. I was just standing there. I was so stunned. But that's ridiculous. So when the batter doesn't, and he's sitting there going, Tony, why are you even talking to me? Couldn't you tell it hit him? The batter didn't know it hit him, but I know it did.
Tim Cheetah's had a rough night. He's ejected Scott Rowland tonight. Seen a number of these hitters on both sides question the strike zone. And let's take a look if it got him.
No.
If it did, it barely grazed him.
Well, I mean, it's like up in the trunk of the body. I thought he was saying that it hit him like in the hand or something.
That's going to be it for Tyler Johnson. Looper coming in. 5-4 Houston here in the 8th. Great talent that has come from that university. Byron Leftwich and Chad Pennington. So Marshall takes on Kansas State. You can see that game 11:30. Of course, Randy Moss as well. 11:30 this weekend.
Looper comes into this game. He was going to come in to face Burke no matter what. But with the hit, batsman comes in with a man on first base.
Telling me he wasn't hit, Al. I can gather that from your.
Well, I mean, you know, it's common sense that the runner would go to first base.
The bunt is laid down by Burke. Only play for Looper to go to first. Sacrifice good, 1-3. Luke Scott advances to second base, and it brings in Ausmus. I'm sorry, Bruntley, excuse me, and Ausmus on deck.
I think the Cardinals got what they want. They got the vulture on the mound. He's going to keep this a 5-4 game. Time Bruntley and Ausmus, and then he's going to swoop down and pick up his 9th victory.
That's your prediction. I like it. Almost worked last time we said it.
You know, in Washington.
Right.
Well, he did his part. Cardinals got in the lead on the Preston Wilson 2-run home run in the 9th.
The Chad Cordero. Bruntlett tonight has singled. He's fly to center and he struck out.
In the 11th inning at Cincinnati, all tied up at 4-4 with San Diego batting.
Here comes a 1-1 pitch from Looper. Good pitch on the outside corner. Looper, Al, has been able to locate his off-speed pitches a little bit better here in the second half.
Well, I think that's exactly right. Early in the season, recovering from the shoulder surgery, you really couldn't tell much for his splitter and slider. Didn't have a lot of bite, and now it's starting to perform the way he wants it.
Ball gets away, but not far enough for Scott to advance. The count is even, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Before the break, 38 games, 4-1 record, with the ERA near 4 since the break. 4-0. ERA just about at 3.
Houston is 6 back of the Cardinals, and Cincinnati 5.
Two is hit out of play.
LA and Chicago are tied at 7-all. LA's got some pitching problems right now.
Figured they'd be a tough team in postseason play with Maddox and Brad Penny, Derek Lowe.
Florida and the Mets are playing again. Florida's added a couple runs. It's 4-0.
Another foul ball, 2-2. Looper was signed as a fallback to Isringhausen, and lo and behold, he's thrust into the role of possibly closing games out. 3-year contract after closing games with New York. A broken bat, a liner, and caught.
Looper had 28 saves with a bad shoulder that necessitated surgery or an impingement in the rotator cuff area.
Cardinals will have, looking ahead to the bottom of this inning, Encarnacion, Belliard, who's had a tough night, and Aaron Miles. Ausmus 1 for 10 against Looper. Big hit in this game is Palmero's single off the bench back in the 4th. One of them. It's 5-4 Houston. Ausmus has walked. He's popped out to first and then struck out looking last time. And Papa was with the bases loaded and nobody out. Little tapper back to Looper. Steps and throws. Good work out of Braden Looper. Encarnacion tonight. A triple back in the fourth. He came around to score. And then a key 2-out RBI base hit in the fifth. He'll lead it off when we return. Brought to you by Jack in the Box. Game that was started by Jeff Weaver for the Cardinals. And Weaver tonight would go 5 innings, 7 hits, 5 runs, walked 3 and struck out 3. He's on the hook if the Cardinals can't come back. It has been back and forth in this game. Molina tied it up. Weaver gave it back up. And a 2-run homer back in the 6th inning by Burke. Dan Wheeler, one of the setup men for Houston. Into the ball game, he is 2-5, but that ERA very good at 2.56. So Dan Wheeler will face Encarnacion as we start play here in the bottom of the 8th. Jason Lane takes over left field. Tough year for Lane this season. Dan Wheeler, whose father-in-law is Tampa Bay Devil Rays broadcaster Dwayne Statz. Longtime vet of baseball broadcasting. They guard the line at third and at first.
I don't know why Mike Lamb doesn't straddle the foul line. Wheeler's been almost unhittable of late.
See where Lamb is. A step or two off the line.
He's going to guard everything right down the line and give up a double to his left.
And so is Berkman at first.
Sometimes, you know, you sit there and you go, have a hard enough time when they guard one side, but when they guard both lines. Okay, I think he can cover it.
Call third strike.
So much guarding the line that I think he'd give up a double to his left.
And here is Belliard, who's had that tough night. They wanted it up. It was a little bit lower than he liked, but
and also
the result was pretty good.
They wanted it inside, and he threw it to the outside.
Belliard is grounded out to second, grounded to short, and popped out to first.
Can't believe the gap that they allow out in left center. Where Belliard hit that ball last night with the bases clearing triple. I saw Dr. Paletta out in the hallway, and I asked him about Izzy, and he said if he feels good, he will throw on Friday. A bullpen session. The cortisone shot usually takes 3 to 5 days to react. And when he had the surgery in '04, you know, he had the arthritic condition there. But his problem is now it's his landing leg. So every time he lands,
no stability.
It collapses and keeps the ball high and doesn't have command.
Clearly evident in that last appearance against Washington.
Yeah, it's progressively gotten worse. And when he had the arthritis in the hip in '04, he said the real problem is it's if he can tolerate it, you know, he can pitch this season. But the real problem is what do we do in the off season to try and clean it up?
2-2. Cardinals need a base runner, down 5-4 here in the 8th. Wheeler was selected by Tampa Bay 34th round back in '96. Made it to the major leagues in '99 briefly for 6 games. Only 11 in 2000. 13 in '01. Belliard chops it. 2 away. Cardinals baseball on FSN Midwest. Brought to you by Budweiser. Bright, crisp, clean, pure. This is Budweiser. This is beer. By Chevrolet. See your Mid-America Chevy dealer today. Chevy, an American Revolution. And by Advance Auto. We're ready in advance. Along with Al Raboski, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We're at the new Busch Stadium in downtown St. Louis. Here's Aaron Miles with 2 outs and nobody on. Cardinals need base runners just to try to extend an inning to get it to Pujols at least one more time. Miles on base twice tonight. Pair of walks, one of those intentional. Of concern right now for Houston, trying to win this game, and then secondly, trying to figure out what exactly is wrong with Andy Pettitte. Andy Pettitte only went 2 2/3 tonight.
And if it's the elbow problem there, it's not something I think you want to rush him back in 5 days. You hear the fans saying they hit him.
I think they like it because it hit off the umpire. Not an easy night for Tim Cheetah. 2 balls, 1 strike on Aaron Miles.
I tell you, he's from Minnesota.
Popped up. Shallow center. Tavares there. Cardinals go 1-2-3, and that sends us to the 9th. 5-4 Houston. Sharp tonight. He's ready to go for the postgame show. The first pitch is popped up and out of play by Jason Lane, who's had, as I mentioned before, a disappointing season at the plate. I mean, they were expecting big things from Lane this year, and they haven't got it. Hitting just .211, 14 home runs, 44 driven in.
He's got power, but not enough power to stay in that lineup.
Cardinals have Molina, a pinch hitter, and Wilson due up. Looking ahead to the bottom of the 9th, Looper trying to send us there 5-4.
And Lidge warming up, so somehow can you extend the inning, get Albert up.
Wouldn't that be something? 1 ball, 2 strikes. Looper, the final 3 outs in the 8th.
And Lidge lost his closer's job for a while, but he has definitely regained it, and he's pitched very effectively in the second half.
5 for 5 in his last 5 opportunities and picking up saves. You were a bullpen guy. I wonder if Brad Lidge is hearing from the fans out there.
Well, that's part of the fun, being in the bullpen where you have the crowds right around over your shoulder.
Sure, he's reminded about the dramatic home run as Lane strikes out. That's how we start the 9th. Well, Pujols has that uncanny ability. He'll talk about that on Thursday night, to just block everything out. And when you ever listen to a Michael Jordan or a Tiger Woods or an Albert Pujols, the best of the great players in this game, they talk about being able to focus when the pressure is on the line and block the crowd out, block everything out except what's at hand. That's a base hit, and watch him fly. Tavares on his way to second base, a 1-out double just inside that first base line.
Should have been guarding the line.
Tavares almost missed first base. I was watching him run and not watching Preston Wilson get it in. Watch this. Stumble a little bit, and then he was able to get it. Yep.
Mike Lamb, big part of this game. Second bat of the game, hit a home run off of Weaver. And it doubles next time up.
That was the 4th pitch of the game. 1 out and a runner at second base. Astros trying to add to their lead of 5-4.
Looper's had trouble with left-handers, but a little bit better than he was earlier in the season as his arm's gotten sounder.
They'll make sure and keep that runner close at second. Base hit 9 times out of 10 he'll score with his good speed.
Tough enough to come back 1 run, but we'll see lefties batting just over 300.
Lamb was the 29th player in World Series history to homer in his first Fall Classic at bat. They were swept by Chicago.
And Chicago has taken an 8-7 lead over the Dodgers. Led that game 7-0.
Chicago Cubs.
Chicago Cubs. Good job out the White Sox.
White Sox are trailing the Angels 2-0. Lamb strikes out. That's good to see Looper get that lefty.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, early in the season, he just couldn't locate his pitches. Couldn't get him in on the lefties. But his work isn't done yet.
It's 4 for 8 against Braden Looper. No. First base is open. I would wonder if they'd walk him, and it looks like they are. Intentional pass here of Berkman. With Looper going 2 innings tonight, you've got to wonder about if there's a save situation tomorrow afternoon. Would he even be available to get an out? Maybe 2?
I think you know what the standard operation, what Tony does is he asks the relievers during batting practice to toss, and then they report to Dave Duncan as to how they felt. If they feel okay, remember Thursday's the off day. This time of year, you know, you got to push the envelope a little bit. I think Wainwright's going to be the closer, you know, anyway. You know, would have been tonight, would have been tomorrow. So Wainwright will be the closer tomorrow. But as you're saying, in an 8th inning situation, get an out or 2, I think they'll say yes. And how about this now? With Berkman at first base, they're coming out here to check and see if he's okay.
How many times do you see a guy get intentionally walked and then they have to check on him at first? Have you hurt himself tossing the bat?
Well, you know, his knees are so bad that he's looking at Jose Cruz. What did they come out here for?
And he hasn't looked right at the plate in this series.
And I think when he's running times he's hit a ball, he's not running hard to first base. I'm sure that's under orders.
It's a cool night here in St. Louis. 2 outs and runners at first and second. Aubrey Huff will hit. 2 for 3 against Braden. These two probably matched up in one of the most highly anticipated interleague series, no doubt, of the season. Tampa Bay and Florida. Huff drills it out to center, and it's going to be caught. Cardinals have Molina, pinch hitter, then Preston Wilson. Final home coming up in the bottom of the ninth. Had issues with their closers this year, Isringhausen and Brad Lidge, but despite the problems for Lidge, still has 31 saves and 36 opportunities.
And he's going to have this opportunity right here. If he doesn't want to face Pujols, he can do that. There you see where Izzy just ahead of him with 33 saves, Lidge 31. About the strikeouts, 93 strikeouts this season.
You'll see some pinch hitters for the Cardinals, and the first one will be John Rodriguez. He'll pinch hit for Molina. Remember, they've already used Rose, one of the backup catchers, so if they can extend this game, or end it right here, but if they would happen to go into extra innings, Gary Bennett is available. And then you have Vizcaíno and then Preston Wilson. Some changes as Bergman, after being checked on, moves to right field from first base. And Ensberg is into the game for defensive purposes over at third. And Mike Lamb is over there at first. There's John Rodriguez. First pitch to him. 94 miles an hour. Might be a matchup that could be good for John Rodriguez. Sees a fastball, good fastball hitter.
Remember when Edmonds got ejected with a couple strikes on him, something like that, that J-Rod came in and almost hit one up on Towles Hill.
Last home run was against Los Angeles and Perez. 1-1 pitch.
Oh
man, oh man.
Can't say anything, but what a strike zone.
We can say something. He's been bad.
Well, Whitey coined the phrase. It's a good thing these umpires have one of two choices.
2-2. I mean, you just don't see Scott Rowland get that hot over balls and strikes. I mean, he was irate.
And then after that, the strike zone completely changed again.
2-2 pitch. Rodriguez pulls it foul. Out in front of that pitch at 86 miles an hour.
He used to throw so many sliders, like he was afraid to throw his fastball. 86, it has to be, but it's some guys' fastballs, it's his slider.
And a 2-2 pitch. Outside. Cardinals need base runners. If Rodriguez would reach, Skip Schumacher's a guy that you might think to put in as a pinch runner. Some of the best speed on that bench, and the crowd comes alive.
Throw the slider.
Here's a 3-2. Rodriguez out to right field, and the tying run is on.
Well, we said it numerous times that Brad Lidge is one of the best closers in the game, but the Cardinals are not afraid to face him. 3-2 slider, and looked like it was up, and now Schumacher will pinch run for him. But up right there, and he just hammers it out into right field, so the Cardinals at least are going to go down fighting, and that's usually what happens. Vizcaino now will pinch hit.
So Vizcaino here will be the pinch hitter. Good bunter, and Schumacher with good speed is over at first base.
Former Astro.
The scout told me before the game, Al, he said he watched Schumacher represent Team USA. He said it was like watching Scott Besednik. He said that's how we value a guy like Schumacher. They think that he can be a pretty good player. The bunt is down, and Schumacher on his way to second. The sacrifice is good for Vizcaino, so the tying run in scoring position, and look who steps in against his former team. It's Preston Wilson. And by the way, Cincinnati has won with a walk-off home run 5-4 over San Diego. Huge win for the Reds. Pulls them to within 2.5 of the wild card.
Also, if the Cardinals do not come from behind and lose this game, they're 4 back of the Redbirds. Houston would pick up a game and become 5 back.
Tying run at second base with 1 out here in the bottom of the 9th. Preston Wilson is homered tonight. He does have 1 hit against Lidge, as we showed you, and it's a home run. First pitch to Preston. He took a rip.
Interesting to see how Lidge faces Preston. He can do some damage if he gets a pitch to his liking, that you can throw pitches by him, whether it's the fastball or the slider. And make a mistake, he's got the power to hit one out.
And an 0-1 pitch to Wilson. On its way. A chopper hit left side. It is a foul ball. Well, the Cardinals catch a break. Spezio is on deck, and then Albert Pujols. And wouldn't that be something? See where the outfield is playing now. A little bit more shallow.
Now they have to be in a position where they can throw Schumacher out.
Base hit could tie it up. One swing of the bat could win it. He does have one career walk-off homer. He had a dramatic home run against Cordero last week. Here comes an 0-2.
Not inconceivable, a ball thrown in the dirt, get by Osmus. So Lidge trying to overthrow a pitch or trying to pull down on a slider. Albert studying, just hoping for that chance, but would be more than happy to congratulate Wilson on a game-winning hit too.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. 2-2. Inning started with a very good at bat by John Rodriguez. With a base hit to right. Sacrificed by Vizcaíno, and now Preston Wilson. 2-2 the count. Schumacher the tying run at second base. 5-4 Houston here in the ninth. 2-2 pitch. And with 2 outs, the final hope is Spezio. Hit one to the track in center field his last time up. This is a guy that has been swinging the bat as good as anybody in this lineup.
1 for 3, a home run off of Brad Lidge.
Yeah, but that was the pinch hit home run before the All-Star break.
Yep, a couple strikeouts.
Spezio, the final hope. Pujols on deck.
Hit him.
And he hit him, and Pujols will come up. Isn't this something? We never get sick of showing this and seeing this. Lidge, Pujols, bye-bye.
Hanging breaking ball, and look out, choo-choo train.
Isn't this something?
This crowd stuck around for this possibility.
That is regular season. 1 for 10, couple of strikeouts. And this crowd is on their feet. 41,000 plus. Lidge and Pujols, tying run at third, winning run at first. His next home run would match his career high of 46. Pujols has been on base twice tonight with a couple of walks, one of those intentional. They're on their feet here at Busch. We have talked about memorable moments all night. This might flop into that other category.
Might have this singular real quick change.
Right. If Pujols could end it. Wouldn't that be something?
Leads the major leagues with 22 game-winning hits. 18 of them have been the result of a home run.
And an 0-1 pitch. Schumacher, runner at second base. Spezio is at first. And here comes a 1-1. Astros a strike away. Phil Garner, Tony La Russa, Pujols, Lidge, game on the line.
And your final strike, 7 career walk-off home runs for Pujols.
The last was against Perez of Los Angeles. In the hole here, 1-2. Here it comes to Pujols. Swings and hits it down the third base line. It's fair. This game is at least tied. 1 run in. Here comes Spezio. They're going to wave him in, and the Cardinals are going to win it. Pujols does it again. He beats Lidge. They beat Houston. They'll go for the sweep tomorrow. By the way, your Vulture got the win.
I know he did. I just told you.
You called it now. All right, our play of the game brought to you by Budweiser. What else? Albert Pujols with a game winner.
Tried to get in on him, and he just fights it off and up down the corner. And then, of course, it gets by the left fielder, allowing Spezio to score from first base. So 24 game-winning RBIs for Albert Pujols.
A deflating loss for Houston.
He's racing around there, and he's trying to get, they're going to stop him before he gets to home plate because the game was already over.
The Astros are now 7 games out. 6-5, the final. Dramatic fashion, 120 RBIs now for Albert Pujols, and the final is 6-5.
Well, and you talk about a man making a statement for MVP. It's game-winning RBIs, and he's got 24 of those to lead the major leagues, and another just great at bat for Albert Pujols and a classic win.
They do it against Brad Lidge, one of the game's best. Cardinals baseball is produced by Bud Productions, an exclusive presentation of FSN Midwest. Next Cardinals broadcast will be tomorrow afternoon. We'll come your way with the pregame show at 12:30. The Cardinals look for the sweep. Astros now 7 games out after the game winner from Albert Pujols. Midwest Sports Report is coming up.
A dramatic Cardinal victory tonight. Hello, everybody, and welcome inside Busch Stadium for the Cardinals post-game edition of the Busch Light Midwest Sports Report. Jim Hayes with you. Coming up later in the program, Bernie Miklasz of the Post-Dispatch and 1380 AM Radio will join us. We'll break down tonight's Cardinals victory, and we'll take your phone calls at 1-888-RING-FOX. Plus, we'll get Tony La Russa's live post-game comments. But first, let's head down to the field. Joe Goldberg is standing by with tonight's hero. Who else? Albert Pujols. Those two are at the scene. It's brought to you by Ace Mortgage.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. Albert Pujols still catching his breath down here. Tell me about that at bat.
Well, just try to get a good pitch to hit, you know. Don't try to become a hitter. Just try to get a base hit, hopefully tie the game. And he gave me a good pitch to hit, and I just put a good swing.
You've obviously had a lot of game-winning home runs. This wasn't a home run, but just to see your teammates running around and jumping and screaming, even a couple minutes after this whole thing happened, what's that feeling like for you?
Well, definitely, it's the best feeling because every game is big from now on, you know. And coming back like that and pick Jeff Weaver, you know, he's been throwing the ball great the last couple of starts. And today, you know, he bounced a little bit, but we came back and won the game, you know, and that's the most important thing.
Great job tonight.
Thank you.
They are chanting MVP. Albert Pujols getting it done in the ninth. Let's go upstairs to you guys.
All right, Joel, so many storylines in this game. Instead of Cincinnati being 4 games out, they're still 5, and now Houston is 7 games out. Real tough loss for them. Had the lead in the ninth, they cough it up. Plus, they don't know about the immediate future of Andy Pettitte after he left early in this game. So, real tough loss for them, Al.
It could be a very devastating loss, and as you said, the Cardinals came out there. They wanted to win the series. They have done so. They were in position where possibly they can sweep tomorrow. It'll be another tough game. But Brad Lidge, you know, he is still one of the most outstanding pitchers in the game, but the Cardinals feel very comfortable. They don't know if they're going to get the job done, but they know that they're going to go out there and fight, and they're not going to go quietly.
And lost in the heroics of Albert Pujols against Brad Lidge. How about the Cardinals' bullpen tonight? You know, they have a lead with Jeff Weaver. He coughs it up. The bullpen comes in. Hancock started it off.
Well, he comes in, throws an inning, strikes out the side. So he was very good today. But everybody, as you said, Tyler Johnson comes in. He throws an inning. He gets a big strikeout, 1 of 3 against Berkman. And Braden Looper throws 2 shutout innings, and he picks up his 9th win. And don't forget about a couple things. John Rodriguez gets it started with a pitch hit single. Spezio gets hit by a pitch. The slider, he tries to overthrow it, hits him on the toe to all set it up. And Vizcaino puts the sacrifice down. So it was a good team victory and one that they really wanted.
I know the national media will look at a game like this, and you look at what did Albert Pujols do. It's game-winning RBIs with 2 outs, bottom of the 9th against Brad Lidge, one of the best in the game, and he now has 120 RBIs.
Well, that's the statement he's making right now. We're not taking anything away from Ryan Howard. He's having a tremendous year, but Albert Pujols is too. He's the reigning MVP, and he's doing it down the stretch. He carried this team the first half, and he continues just to get these big clutch hits night after night. All
right, the Cardinals go for the sweep tomorrow. We'll have it here on high definition on FSN, and our pregame show at 12:30 tomorrow, so short turnaround. 12:30 tomorrow, and we send it back over to Jim.
All right, guys, thanks a lot. The matchup everyone wanted, Pujols-Lidge, and Pujols wins it once again. Tomorrow would mark Anthony Reyes' turn in the rotation, but after lasting only 2 1/3 innings and giving up 7 runs on Friday, the rookie is being skipped in favor of Jason Marquis. That decision was initiated by the Cardinals and not by Reyes.
They saw me throw the last game. They said it looked like I was getting a little tired, so they just decided with the innings that I've thrown so far just to give me a little rest here. I did feel a little fatigue in there, but you know, I mean, arm's healthy. Just you know, they just decided they needed a break, so they just gave me a little break.
Jeff Weaver got the start for the Redbirds. Second batter of the night, Mike Lamb, bye-bye. Sends that thing out of the yard, and Houston jumped out to a 1-0 lead. We go to the bottom of the 3rd, 2 outs. Preston Wilson facing his former team. A little bit of revenge. His 15th home run of the year, scores Aaron Miles. Cards back up top 2-1. That way all night. Later that inning, Astros pitcher Andy Pettit leaves the game due to an elbow injury. Chris Sampson came on. Bottom 4th, score now 3-2 Houston. Juan Encarnacion smacks a line drive to right, and he is on his horse. He's digging, beats the throw. He gets a triple. Yadier Molina, look at Yadi. He likes what he's seeing. 3 batters later, Molina, an RBI single to center. That brings home Juan, and that knotted the ball game at 3 apiece. Bottom 5th, after Scott Rowland is ejected for arguing a call, Encarnacion again. 2 outs, he gets a base hit. Spezio waves home, throw not in time, Cards up 4-3. Jeff Weaver in the 6th, struggling. He walked Luke Scott, gives up a home run to Chris Burke, and the Astros now back on top. 5-4. Weaver would leave the game right after that. Josh Hancock replacing Weaver, quickly strikes out the side, and Hancock comes on and gets the job done. We go to the bottom of the 9th, still 5-4, 1 on, 2 out. Pitcher Brad Lidge hits Spezio. Well, there's Hancock finishing the job. That's when Lidge hits Spezio right in the Tootsie. And that would set up the matchup we were all waiting for. Pujols, Lidge. And Lidge gets drilled again by Pujols. Down the line, Skip Schumacher scores. Spezio waved around. Ball game. Cardinals win it 6-5. Doesn't get much better than that. There are the numbers. Not so much drama in the numbers, but a 6-5 Cardinals victory. So they're now 2 for 2 in the series against the Astros. They'll wrap it up tomorrow. The finale of a 3-game set. Lamb, the solo home run. Burke had a homer. Pettit with the elbow problem. That could hurt Houston as they try to come back from this. We don't know what his status will be. Preston Wilson, the home run number 15. And Encarnacion had a big night. And Weaver, 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned run.
Little guy. I mean, is this a little out of character for you tonight?
Yeah, I mean, snapped, obviously. I didn't think we had a disagreement about the strike zone. That's about it. I mean, not much more to it than that. It was pretty obvious that I snapped, and, you know, I was upset.
Did you say the magic words to him?
A few of them. Yeah, I don't think you can just narrow it down to one. I think I said a few of those. Actually, afterwards, after he threw me out, I got a little upset.
What after you were tossed there, did you go back and look at the pitch and see exactly where it was and stuff? And how did you feel after you looked at it?
We had a disagreement with the strike zone. I mean, you know, before it, during it, after it, the whole thing. It doesn't matter. I mean, I got the short end of it, I guess. I get thrown out of the game. That's not what I was trying to do. I wasn't trying to get thrown out of the game. I need to try to stay in that game, obviously, but that's the way it happened.
How much is just based on that, and was any of it just frustration with being a little bit in a slump right now?
Apparently. Is that what you think, Joel?
Just wondering, because just isolated to that moment.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, you know, I haven't been getting hits and frustrated. I was more concerned about I wasn't yelling about him. I wasn't yelling at him about the last 10 at-bats. I was yelling at him about the pitch.
Was there any contact at all? I mean, it looked like you were close.
I don't think there was. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people reviewing the thing, but I don't remember touching him or bumping him, and I haven't looked at it.
Right, except for that sixth inning. I mean, the walks tonight killed me to lead off that sixth after we just got the lead back, and just got away there, falling 3-0 to the next guy. I was just trying to battle back and didn't want to walk another guy, so threw a pitch that was pretty much on the tee for him, and he killed it. So, I mean, guys did a great job battling back. Got the right guy up in the right situation, and he came through. So a win's a win right now, and we'll take it and move on and try for the sweep tomorrow.
Where did you get hit with the line drive at?
Hit me right in the right hamstring. But, I am surprised it even hit me. It should go right through how skinny I am. But, it's one of those things that, had no ill effects on how I pitched from thereafter.
Did that tighten up at all after the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's tight, but, 2 days it'll be back to normal. It's happened plenty of times.
Jeff, if you take away the two-run homer and say you get out of the sixth inning, the game's still, like whatever it was, 43 or whatever the score was, you guys are still winning after that, and say, that's it for you. You take away the last three starts would have been pretty positive. I mean, you feel like things are going in the right direction?
No, they are totally. I mean, that's, kind of what's a little frustrating when you let things kind of fall apart like they did in the sixth. I feel, for the last month or so, just getting on track and making pitches like I should. And, the fourth inning was just one of those innings where, lucky ground ball just enough for make things happen. So, yeah, you're exactly right that the two-run homer in the sixth was frustrating just because of how I fell behind those hitters. And, I did a good job of getting the guys in the middle of the order out, but you still got to make pitches to the other guys, and I just didn't do that in the sixth inning.
Looking at it with a lead, going about it a different way, or is it just not so much approach, just execution?
No, I mean, it's just more execution. When you get a lead, you want to jump ahead of hitters and continue to put the pressure on them, and that's just not what I did there in the sixth inning. And, everybody's got a shot, when you fall behind, and you got to make a perfect pitch to get out of it. And obviously I didn't do that with Burke, but, the thing is even with the trouble I did have, we were still in the game. The guys did a great job of battling back and keeping it close. And, like I said, we just got the right guy up in the right situation, and he came through. And any win right now is a good win, so we'll take it. And
it seemed like that's the way it was supposed to go. And Albert's coming up with 2 outs, and he does what he does best, driving runs and win games.
How big was the bullpen overall tonight? Because we struggled a little bit, but you guys were able to minimize.
We were able to come in and do our job, and hold the lead to where it was, and everything. Like I you know, everything worked out just to get that one moment where, you know, things started to happen, and they happened for us. And it's nice to come out of here with, you know, leading win the series against these guys, and going to tomorrow with a head of steam.
What about for you to? I mean, everybody always wants to come in and have that perfect inning and strike out the side. That's gonna be nice. What went well for you?
That's gonna happen. You know, I'll come into games and I'll get hit around, and you know, it's just the way things turned out tonight. I felt good.
But get a pitch in my zone and try to hit it hard. And if he threw me, hit me in the foot. So I didn't have to think hard very long.
How much did that hurt? And then when you see Albert coming up, how much does that stop hurting?
It hurt just because it hit me right in the toenail, bent my toenail back. So it's one of those things that lasts a little bit. You're numb, and it's kind of running in place over at first. And Barry came out and asked me if I could run because, you know, my run was very important in the game. And so yeah, don't worry about it. I'll figure it out. So he ran back in. Of course, he made it tough on me. Albert did. Instead of hitting a home run.
So are you watching Jose all the way, or are you watching the ball? I mean, is that play sort of unfolding?
I watched the ball until it started getting where I was going to have to turn my head, and I just watched Jose, and you know, I trust his judgment. He's great out there. So he told me to go, and I didn't know it had kind of went around the edge, so I thought it was going to be a real close play. And then I saw nobody at home plate like telling me to get down or anything. I was like, great, cool. Where's Albert?
How big is this for you? If for no other reason than, you know, they end up 7 games back now, and obviously they needed these wins.
Well, you know, like I've been saying, every win is huge from here on out, and you know, that was a very exciting win, coming from behind win. But man, anything we can get now is exciting. You know, yesterday's win wasn't exciting, but it was, you know, it was a huge win for us. So hopefully we can keep that going.
Time for a Hyundai play of the day. What could it be? What could it be? How about this? Cards trailing 5-4, bottom 9. Albert Pujols, game-winning 2-run double, and the Cardinals win 6-5. Albert Pujols getting to Brad Lidge once again, our Hyundai play of the day.
Here it comes to Pujols. Swings and hits it down the third base line. It's fair. Here comes Spezio. They're going to wave him in, and the Cardinals are going to win it.